Not only through his own Cherokee ancestry discovered his own Jewish roots, but he's also leading the charge in the DNA discoveries of the ancient roots of the Cherokee and other Native American communities.
The forgotten origins of the Cherokee and other Native nations. It began quietly, with a set of Cherokee DNA results that were never meant to be public. What seemed like a routine genetic study soon revealed data that defied every accepted theory about the first peoples of America.
Company DNA Consultants has also shown evidence of Cherokee having DNA ties to the ancient Phoenician and Minoan sea peoples.
At first, the samples appeared ordinary. But when scientists traced the genetic markers, the pattern was unmistakable. A hidden ancestry that pointed far beyond North America. One ancient Cherokee oral record began with these haunting words, "When we came from beyond the great waters." It described a migration, not from the frozen north, but across the vast Pacific Ocean. The discovery didn't just rewrite history. It threatened to expose something the nation itself had long buried. A private genetics company, DNA Consultants, uncovered evidence linking the Cherokee to the ancient Phoenicians and Minoans, seafaring peoples from the Mediterranean. The findings were shocking, the records sealed. What remained was a secret that could upend everything America was built upon. The myth of American origins. In the early 19th century, the U.S. government and its academic institutions crafted a version of prehistory to fit their political goals, a story that made indigenous peoples look like recent arrivals rather than ancient civilizations. Anthropology, then a young science funded by government interests, became the tool for this rewriting. By the mid-1800s, scholars promoted the Bering Land Bridge theory, the idea that all Native Americans descended from hunters who crossed from Siberia to Alaska roughly 15,000 years ago. It was treated as scientific fact, though based on very little evidence. This narrative conveniently justified expansion, portraying the Americas as empty lands awaiting progress. If indigenous peoples were migrants too, then European settlers could claim to be merely continuing the same journey, bringing civilization to what they called a new world. The Smithsonian Institution, founded in 1846, became one of the most powerful voices pushing this version of history. Many of its early leaders worked directly with government agencies responsible for westward expansion. Archaeology was never just science, it was politics. Reports from mound excavations in the Midwest concluded that a lost race had built the great earthworks, not the ancestors of the tribes living there. This false narrative served one purpose: to deny Native Americans their ancient claim to the land and justify taking it. Some researchers noticed the truth, that mound building, pottery, and oral histories directly connected living tribes like the Cherokee and Creek to those same ancient sites. But their work was silenced. Journals refused to publish them. Funding disappeared. Their notes, like the evidence itself, were buried. By the 20th century, the Bering Land Bridge theory had become dogma. School children were taught a simplified lie that Native peoples were wandering hunters, not builders of complex societies. The rich languages, trade routes, and architecture of tribes like the Cherokee were erased, replaced by a single migration story. The ancestors who shouldn't be here. When settlers pushed into Cherokee lands in the Appalachian Mountains, they found something that didn't fit the official story: stone fortifications, metal ornaments, and burial mounds that predated European arrival. Farmers uncovered bronze artifacts, an alloy of copper and tin unknown to indigenous technology at the time. Missionaries in the 1700s asked Cherokee elders about these mysteries. The elders spoke of ancient visitors who came from the sunrise across the Eastern Ocean, light-skinned people who brought metal tools and knowledge of stonework. They were remembered as the people of the sunrise. Archaeologists found similar traces, spiral motifs, geometric engravings, and copper alloys like those used in ancient North Africa and Mediterranean. When researchers like Squire and Davis published their findings in 1848, suggesting foreign influence, their work was quietly dismissed. Government-backed institutions discouraged any mention of Old World traits in native burials. Even linguistics hinted at something deeper. Comparative studies in the 1800s found similarities between Cherokee and ancient Semitic and Berber languages, shared roots for words like sky, earth, and family. Once again, the evidence was buried, funding cut, and the idea forgotten. The DNA that shouldn't exist. Then in the 1990s, science did what archaeology had been prevented from doing. DNA testing began on Cherokee descendants, aiming to confirm the long-accepted native lineages, the four maternal haplogroups A, B, C, and D. But when the results arrived, everything changed. Researchers found not just those four, but T, U, J, H, and X, lineages linked not to Siberia, but to the Middle East, North Africa, and the Mediterranean. The most surprising was haplogroup X, found in Europe and the Near East, and suddenly among the Cherokee in significant numbers. These results challenged everything anthropology had built for over a century. If Mediterranean DNA existed in ancient Cherokee bloodlines, it meant there had been contact and possibly migration between the Old World and the Americas thousands of years before Columbus. When word spread online and in small reports, the backlash was immediate. Labs were pressured to withdraw results. Grants were cut. Researchers were warned that publishing such data could damage credibility and create political confusion. By the early 2000s, funding for native DNA studies dried up. Projects were merged or canceled, and data vanished into private archives.
The Genome Directive. In the 21st century, the control shifted from land to data. Native DNA became a new frontier, quietly collected, analyzed, and restricted under the guise of medical research. Results showing Mediterranean or Middle Eastern ancestry were quietly classified, withheld, or labeled heritage sensitive. This digital gatekeeping created a new form of erasure, not by destroying evidence, but by containing it. America's darkest secret. What makes the Cherokee DNA discovery dangerous isn't what it says about the past, it's what it threatens in the present. If transatlantic contact occurred long before Columbus, if Mediterranean and Jewish blood runs through Cherokee veins, then America's founding myth that civilization arrived here collapses. It would mean the land wasn't discovered, it was inherited. Such an admission could unravel the entire chain of ownership upon which the United States was built, land, law, and identity itself. That is why the records remain sealed. Not to protect science, but to protect power. The Cherokee DNA mystery is more than genetics. It's the heartbeat of a truth America buried. A truth still alive in the blood of its first peoples. What do you think? Could the Cherokee carry the memory and the DNA of an ancient world America tried to erase? Implications of the Cherokee DNA mystery for all mankind, spiritually, historically, and scientifically. If the Cherokee DNA mystery is true, If their blood carries traces of the Mediterranean, the Middle East, and ancient seafaring civilizations, then this is more than an American story. It is a human story. It challenges everything we think we know about who we are, where we came from, and how our civilizations began. It means that history is not a straight line, but a circle, that humanity's great journeys have always been interconnected long before borders, maps, or nations existed. If ancient peoples once crossed the oceans, carrying knowledge, faith, and bloodlines from one continent to another, then humanity has never been divided by race, only by memory. It also means that the roots of faith and prophecy may reach further back than we imagined. The Cherokee stories of a people who came from beyond the great waters echo the migrations told in the Hebrew scriptures of Exodus, covenant, and return. If those stories converge in the DNA of a native nation, then the bond between ancient Israel and the peoples of the earth may be far deeper than politics or religion have ever allowed. Science would need to change too. The Cherokee DNA forces modern anthropology to face a truth it has long avoided, that knowledge cannot be owned and history cannot be controlled. The boundaries drawn by empire, academic, political, or spiritual, dissolve when truth is traced through the veins of living people. For mankind, the message is both humbling and hopeful. It means that humanity's story is not of isolated tribes, but of one ancient family scattered across the earth, a family whose memory is now reawakening. The Cherokee DNA mystery is not just about origins. It is a mirror held up to the human race, asking whether we are ready to see ourselves as we truly are. Connected, ancient, one.
It also means that the roots of faith and prophecy may reach further back than we imagined. The Cherokee stories of a people who came from beyond the great waters echo the migrations told in the Hebrew scriptures of Exodus, covenant, and return. If those stories converge in the DNA of a native nation, then the bond between ancient Israel and the peoples of the earth may be far deeper than politics or religion have ever allowed. Science, too, would need to change. The Cherokee DNA forces modern anthropology to face a truth it has long avoided, that knowledge cannot be owned and history cannot be controlled. The boundaries drawn by empire, academic, political, or spiritual, dissolve when truth is traced through the veins of living people. For mankind, the message is both humbling and hopeful. It means that humanity's story is not one of isolated tribes, but of one ancient family scattered across the earth, a family whose memory is now reawakening. The Cherokee DNA mystery is not just about origins. It is a mirror held up to the human race, asking whether we are ready to see ourselves as we truly are. Connected, ancient, one.